My name's Eric. I'm a Magic the Gathering streamer, and a lot of my community has started streaming and wanted me to do a quick little how-to on making thumbnails. It's no secret that channels with thumbnails seem to get more views than channels without them, whether they're basic thumbnails or whether they're very elaborate thumbnails. And we're going to go over some of those more elaborate thumbnails, and we're going to go over some basic thumbnails today. And I'm going to show you some of those effects that are used by streamers with thousands and thousands of viewers, and we're going to go over some techniques that you can easily implement. Also, I'm going to be telling you how to get a completely free to use version of like Photoshop and things like that. It's not necessarily Photoshop. I use a program called Gimp. So let's kind of jump straight into that. All right, so when it comes to making a thumbnail, you can get very complex with it, and again, I will be talking about those more complex videos, and you can be very, very simple with it. But there are a couple things that you really want to do in order to make making a thumbnail easy for you. And the first one's going to be templating. Now, once you start making your YouTube videos, and you typically will, if you're going to be a YouTuber, you're going to have multiple videos. Eventually, you'll adapt a style. If you'll see the background here behind my, here, we'll remove this. The background here, you'll see that I have a pretty basic style that I have adapted over time. We use some cool lettering effects, and we use some logos, maybe some some symbols or something like that. And whether you're playing Magic the Gathering or streaming Magic the Gathering or streaming any other game, all of these effects are going to be useful for you. Now, I will be using Magic related things, but again, just pull up whatever you need and use those instead. So let's talk a little bit about one of the first things that you can do. And this is the simplest effect that I recommend everyone using, and I'll show you guys that. All right, so first off, you're going to want to put a title on there, and you'll notice here that as soon as I put that title on, how to make a thumbnail, it kind of bleeds in with everything else in the background. So my recommendation is you use a shadow layer, and the shadow layer is simply all black, right? Like it's the same layer, but you can change the opacity of this particular layer to allow other things to kind of bleed through. Now, what you want to do with this is you want to add a certain amount of shadow to dim your background. This is going to allow your lettering to really pop. And I'll show you how to do that. It's very, very simple, and we'll actually end up making a thumbnail towards the end here. I've got I want to make a new Subscriber Sunday thumbnail, and that's what I figured would be the project for today. But while we're doing that, I'm going to talk about some effects that are used by a lot of different people, and these effects basically are just different applications of the shadow layer. So let's take a look here. I've actually made this particular shadow layer around 70% opacity, and that allows everything in the background to show, but yet it doesn't overpower my lettering. Now, I've done some other things with this lettering that you guys will be able to see, and you can see if I raise or lower my opacity that it bleeds through more and more. Again, this is why I went up to about 70%. What's up, everyone? Thank you guys. Thank you for the welcome back. We'll talk a little bit more about why I've been gone when we get into the actual gameplay streams. But for now, let's talk about these effects that are going to be very handy for you making thumbnails. And you can use this for any project. Maybe you want to make some thumbnails for a school project or something like that. Maybe you want to make slides or something like that, for a PowerPoint presentation. And GIMP's really good for that. Again, GIMP is free to use. If you'll check the first link in the description box, you'll get a you'll get a link to where you can download GIMP. Later we'll talk about effects like I beveled these letters, and you can do that with effects like alpha to logo effects that come with Gimp originally, but were taken off of Gimp 2.0. I put a link down there where you can download those effects, and I put another link to another YouTuber who actually put a how-to guide together on how to add those effects to your Gimp 2.0. So if you'll just check the first 3 links in the description box, you'll know everything you need to know about how to get your Gimp up and running. And Gimp, again, is the name of this program that I'm using. It's like Photoshop, only it's free. So I highly recommend free. Free is good, especially if you're a new YouTuber and you don't have any YouTube income coming in or anything like that. You're going to want to keep things as cheap as possible, and Gimp's a really good way to do that. So let's talk a little bit about some of these effects. Now, the first thing I want to pull up is I want to pull up a thumbnail by a fellow YouTuber named Noxious. He is a Magic the Gathering YouTuber. Hearthstone, he plays Hearthstone, he plays Magic the Gathering, he plays a lot of different things. But one of the things that I noticed when I was looking at his thumbnails is he uses these shadow effects to great effect. That's probably way too many, effects. Anyway, you'll see at the bottom here we've got this line that goes across and covers the logo, and that helps the logo kind of pop out at you. If you'll look up here at Ravnica Allegiance, you'll see that there's some shadowing going around Ravnica Allegiance here, and that has also been layered back so that you can kind of see through it with reducing the opacity of it, so that you can still see the art behind it, but it allows the lettering to pop. Another thing is you'll notice that his title here, Mono Black Mayhem, has actually been etched or outlined with black as well to help make it pop, but yet not actually reducing the background or the background image and allowing that to still shine through. Now you can do it with the way I showed you of making one solid layer, and then that'll allow all your lettering to pop, or you can individualize it to allow for brighter effects around the outside of your text and things like that, and then it'll really make your lettering pop even more. He's got his logo up here in the top corner, which is another thing that I'll show you how to do. We'll show you how to rotate that and things of that nature. So Noxious has actually really used the shadowing effect in multiple ways here, and that's really why I wanted to show you guys Noxious's logo. So let's talk a little bit about templates before we get into things here. This is my template. So I like using templates because using templates can allow you to switch from one thumbnail to another. So once you actually get these made, you can save these in templates, which will allow you to quickly jump on. You can have your different symbols and things like that you use. So if you wanted to throw some logo or some images up there, like the effects. This particular deck I think was like Esper or something like that. So those would be black and blue and white. Where's white? Where's my white mana symbol? Ah, there it is. Black, blue, and white. So even though they're all stacked, we can easily just grab them and just using the move tool, select the layer that you want to move, and then you can just kind of move that, and you can stack those around and things of that nature. And then now they kind of look stacked up. You may not want that. Maybe you want the white to be behind the blue but not be behind the black. You could just easily move that. Layering is very, very simple. Just stack things from back to front as you want to see those. And because I have all of these preloaded into my template, it's very easy for me to switch from this particular layout to maybe I want to put a Selesnya deck together, and just bring that up there. I've already pre-made these templates, so it's going to make work a lot easier for me in the future. So that's going to be my first big piece of advice, is to make your templates. How do you find static background images on Google Images, or do you have a website you use personally? So as far as static backgrounds, like maybe I wanted to to use some of these other arts or something like that. I typically use Google Images to find those. Looking for a specific card seems to be what a lot of other streamers do, and you do want to check with the creator of the game that you're playing to make sure that they don't care that you use those. And as far as Magic the Gathering goes, as long as you're not trying to sell the image, or you make the image at least Creative Commons, which makes it public for everyone to use, then they don't have a real big problem with it. And even though that it is in their terms and conditions that they could technically, enforce some rules there, they also say that as long as you're not trying to sell it and you make everything Creative Commons, where it's open to the public, so if you want my thumbnail, you can go grab my thumbnail. The same thing that goes with Noxious's thumbnail here. He made sure that his thumbnail was available for anyone to get, and things like that. As far as mana symbols go, you can't really change mana symbols a whole lot. I know my logo is a little bit different, as it is technically a mana symbol, but it falls in a different category there, so I'm kind of allowed to get away with that. Plus, I'm also not passing it off as a swamp logo, and I'm not trying to sell items with this logo on it. Again, it really depends on whether or not you're trying to sell stuff or things like that. So for the most part, if you can find things on Google that are Creative Commons, then you can use those. As far as the template goes, though, if you want to use effects like mana symbols and things like that, you can. Wizards usually doesn't have a problem with that. I have my template set up so that I can do multiple things. Like this is originally a template for a Debs deck. I can actually turn off Debs deck. I could bring up my other Debs deck where I can change my background logo and things like that. So I've got multiples, and I save those in different layers, and I recommend that you guys do that as well. Maybe we want to play some jank, at which point I would need to remove the live stream, so that you can have your different effects. So maybe you put out different shows and things like that. Then you can have these pre-built, and that'll make things very, very easy for you to use. So I've got things. There we go. I've got a lot of different logos, and it's very typical to build things from the left side to the right side. Here in America and English-speaking countries, we read from left to right. So you want to put your focus from left to right. Like, you wouldn't want to put things that you want people to see first over on the left-hand or the right-hand side. You'd want to put them over on the left-hand side, and that's why you're normally going to see logos, and you're normally going to see symbols and things like that you want people to connect with immediately on the left hand side. We also read from top to bottom. That's why if you're trying to put it out there that, hey, this is going to be an arena video, you would put the arena logo in the top left hand corner. This way people see that immediately connect with this is an arena video, and then they can decide whether or not they want to actually watch this video based on other things on the thumbnail. So placement in your thumbnail is very, very important as well. So again, if we wanted to scream, hey, this is an arena video, we'll put our arena logo in the top left hand corner, and then from there you would be able to start putting your other things. Okay, this will be a Smothering and Riches deck, and then maybe we want to put in a live stream. All right, and this is a live stream and things like that. I highly recommend that you don't use more than 2 to 3 types of text on your particular thumbnail, a lot of times you do want to use at least two types of text, and that's why I have one font here for Smothering Riches and another font for live stream. Now again, we're gonna go check another one out here, again using the shadow effect. This comes straight from Channel Fireball. This is a they have simply, they wanted to make the Ravnica Allegiance pop, so they just put a shadowed parallelogram here in the background. You could have used, just a flat triangle or a flat rectangle, which also a parallelogram. But they just use a simple box to outline and to highlight Ravnica Allegiance, and then allowed that to kind of shine in the middle of a very bright picture. Now, if they would have actually removed this opaque shadow effect, if if they wanted to remove this shadow effect here, the Ravnica Allegiance logo would really like just fade into the background, and it would be really hard for you guys to see. So again, the shadowing effect, it's used by businesses, it's used by top streamers. I use it myself, and I highly recommend that if you want your text to be able to really shine, then you're going to want to use the shadow effect. So create that shadow layer ever how you do it. Again, I'm going to use Noxious's example here. He's got just a stripe across the bottom, and sometimes we'll actually see people put a stripe across the middle, and then they'll write their white text over that stripe. I've seen people put white stripes and then put black text over it, but just creating that contrast for your lettering is going to be really important, because again, we want people to see this. We want people to have their eye caught within the first couple seconds of seeing, or within the first second of seeing your thumbnail, and that's what's really going to help you. So let's kind of jump into making a thumbnail, and I'll show you guys some of these effects right here. We'll just delete this. We'll start fresh. When you first create your initial image here, you're going to have, let's see if we can center this up a little bit. When you first create your initial image, you're going to have just a black background. Now you can simply create add alpha channel this way that you can cut things out and you'll have a PNG, but that's more for like creating overlays, for making your stream overlays and stuff like that. I will show you guys how to do that. Matter of fact, I'll even pull up a quick overlay here, because it does have some bearing in what we're talking about. Let's open up, let's see, let's go to layout. Yeah, we'll go to layout stuff. Here's a deck tech overlay. Okay, so I'll open this deck tech overlay up here. So with my deck tech overlay, I've actually created all of these different effects, and then because I had added an alpha channel, this allows things to be see-through. Okay, so you're definitely going to want to add alpha channel to your background, especially if you want to cut sections out. This way you can have something else showing through that, and these are normally used for live streams. You don't want to use this for a thumbnail, but just to kind of point out my initial, add an alpha channel to your thumbnails. So that's what I mean, because everything that's in the little gray and darker gray boxes here, the checkered pattern, that is not actually there on that image, which gives you something like this, right? So you guys can see through it, right? So now you guys can see what I'm talking about here. So let's jump back over. All right, so that's what I mean by creating the alpha channel. You create an invisible layer or a see-through layer. So let's go back over to making our thumbnail. I got the sun shining in here, and it's kind of bright, and I can't see part of my screen. But anyway, so let's start with our background. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and create a new layer, and it doesn't matter what color that layer is, because I'm not going to actually put any color to it. And this is just an empty layer. It has nothing on it. You can completely see through it. So um, let me, what do I recommend? The DPI Gimp to default is 72. Should be in your thumbnails. I just use the default, Boros. I just use default, man. Um, let's see. You count at least one round being a non-match. Oh, okay. You guys are talking about magic. All right. Anyway, so the first layer here is just going to be our base layer. Now above that, we're going to layer our shadow layer, which was our original background. If it pops up as a different color, you can simply change the color by using your fill button, and bam, now it's white. You probably don't want it to be white, so you're probably going to want to leave that black, because that black's going to create the best shadow. But again, you could do something like what Channel Fireball did. Where is Channel Fireballs? I closed Channel Fireballs. No, I didn't. They actually used, a green or a bluish looking layer, some kind of a teal looking layer that was very dark, but yet not exactly black. So you can actually use whatever color you want. You just want that to create some kind of contrast with your text. So let's add our logo here. Let's go open as layers, and then from here I've actually got most of the things I want in a particular folder. So I'm going to add my logo here, and once I've added my logo, we can move that wherever we want, and then we can like add effects to that and things like that. If we want to, maybe we want to be more like Noxious, and we want to rotate it or something like that. We could rotate it to give it that kind of offset feel or something. Once you click the rotate, you can spin it and you can move it wherever you want. For the most part, most people want things to be aesthetically pleasing, so you're probably going to want to line anything up with the corner of the image, but that's not necessarily 100% when it comes to your logo. You can kind of do whatever you want with your logo. Just make it fairly consistent in most situations. So we're just gonna hit rotate here. That's going to lock that in, and you'll notice that the new image is now got this line through it here, right? So the image actually goes off the screen, but if I right click that layer, I can go over here, layer to image size, and this is going to be very important, guys, layer to image size, and we'll get into why this is important later. But you're going to want to make sure that your layers go to image size. Now if I decide I wanted to move this layer, you will notice that it's still stuck up in the top right hand corner where originally it was centered. So we're just gonna put that back where it was. Control Z works great here. A lot of times you can go way back if you need to. And then like if you wanted to do other effects and things, you could do that. But we're just going to leave the logo there. Then I want to add something like Subscriber Sunday across it, right? So we're just going to use, yeah, or else it saves very weird. When we get into adding cool effects, I'll show you guys where things get totally messed up if you don't layer to image size. So let's just add this simple little sub Sunday, right? I want that second S to be capital because I'm weird like that, right? So we'll go sub Sunday. Now you can either just change the font size and make it smaller, or you can actually make this layer itself. You can make that. All right, so you know how to change the size. I'll show you the other way to do it. So you could also go to layer to image size again, and now we've got Sub Sunday as a full layer. At this point, I can't actually change the text without editing it or going into edit. But what we can do is we can use the scale tool here, and the scale tool will allow us to drag this down, make it larger, make it smaller, and it will use a scaling effect on your computer. So this will actually scale things down. You can grab the center button here and you can kind of move that around. What I'm actually going to do is we're gonna reduce its size a little bit here. So we'll go to scale, then I'm going to rotate it. So again, using the same rotate that we used earlier. Again, we can use the center to allow us to move that around. So let's say we wanna rotate this a little bit. Yeah, we'll rotate about that much. We can always rotate again, and then we'll click move. Whoa, grab the wrong layer. So we'll try to move this here, and we'll go sub Sunday. Now I don't like the way that it's lined up, so now that I have it back in place, I'm just going to rotate a little bit more, right? And now that I've changed the center point of the rotation, it's going to kind of hinge. You see that, how it actually hinges? So that's what happens if you move it before you finish rotating. Again, we'll hinge it a little bit. We'll click rotate, and then if I go back and I go layer to image size again, and I try to rotate, now we're going to actually be rotating from the center, which is not exactly what I want to do. So I'm just going to hit reset. I'm going to hit undo, and then we're going to move it one more time. I'm going to just try to get it up into place. And sure, right? We'll just go with that. Now we're going to use our first effect. I want to add some beveling to this. Now, so one of the things I want to do is I want to layer to image size. Now you're going to want to do this before you add any filters to your effects. Okay, adding a filter to your effect is going to change the text, change that particular layer in some way. And now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what happens if we don't change this back to layer to image size. Currently it is not to the image size. That's why we have this yellow line here. So if I select this layer, I go up to filters, and I go down to let's find beveling. Where's beveling? Decor, add bevel, right? So I want to add some beveling, and we'll add 15%. Now this is still going to be a very slight effect, but we'll add 15% of bevel to it, and you're going to see the lettering kind of pop out. But we're also going to see things go horribly wrong here. You ready? All right. So now it's going to. Well, it didn't go horribly wrong. It did pretty much nothing. Let's layer to image size it. Now we'll try one more time. So generic, combine, decor. There we go. Add bevel. And we're still not getting much beveling effect out of the text. Well, that's disappointing. Maybe we want to add some other type of text to it, but maybe not. Let's just add us a new text box. Cancel. I don't want to do this over any of these other layers, so I'm just going to create new layer. And it's going to give us the last layer that we had. So we'll select the text, and we're going to go community decks. Instead of Reddit decks or something, we're going to go with community decks. I want this to have some color, so before I pick my color, I actually need to pick a background image, right? Because you want it to match yet contrast with your background image. So let's open up a new layer here, and we're going to pick a background image. Now I've got poor little Eric, and we'll open it up. Now this is some stock art that you can get from converting to workspace, convert. There we go. So now we get this stock image. We ended up with an extra sub Sunday up there. I don't want that, so we're going to delete that. So now that we have this stock image, I'm going to select it and we're going to stretch it. Now this is one of the things that is sometimes absolutely horrible because it'll throw off the dimensions. So be careful when you do stretch your videos and make them a different size. But we're just going to scale this out. Now you'll notice that no matter how I scale it, it automatically scales height and width at the same time. If you want to adjust that, you can break the chain here in the top, and that'll allow you to go height and width independently. So we're just going to scale this at least bigger than the image, and then that'll kind of stretch it to our screen. And then you want to lay that behind our shadow layer. But right now our shadow layer has everything kind of covered up. We can't see it, so let's go ahead and add that opacity. So we're just selecting our black background here, and we'll start with like a 50%, and then we can decide later whether we want to add more or less to that. So now that we have community decks here, and we have our background image, we've got poor little Eric here with his mustache, and he's reaching out to some divine something. Anyway, let's go back to our community decks here. So let's say we want this to pop. Like, what color should we use? Because anyone want to throw a color at me? Like, what do you think would contrast or would work really well with our current image? Maybe even green. We've got a lot of green in it, and as long as we create that contrasting layer, we should be able to to make this pop. We can have gold. We can have pretty much anything we want. So what would you guys think would be a good color for community decks? Anything? I know we got people here. I got no answer, so we're gonna go with green, and we'll just pick us a green color. Now, if I go dark, then that means I'm going to want to outline this with something bright. If I go bright, I'm going to want to outline this with something dark. So I'm going to go fairly dark. Now, if you wanted to pick a color from the background image, I recommend turning off your shadow layer. You can select select a color here, and maybe we want to go with this green, right? That's a very dark green right there. So we'll take that dark green. Now that doesn't show up at all, does it? Even if we add the shadow layer, it just kind of really hides that. So now we really need to make this lettering pop. Now we can either put some type of other background to make this pop, or we can use these effects. Now again, I was telling you guys, I like to use these alpha to logos. You're trying to follow along with Gimp, but you're a noobish with the program. Hey man, just like, you're going to want to play with the program, get the program set up, and you're going to want to get your alpha to logo added. Again, using the links in the description box below, you'll have the instructions needed to be able to add these effects back. Back when we had Gimp 2, the original Gimp 2 had alpha to logo. When they went to Gimp 2.1, they actually removed the alpha to logo section, and people were in a bit of an uproar about it. So they actually gave us the ability to re-add these to our Gimp program. So you'll be downloading everything straight from the Gimp website. We're not sending you to anywhere else. We're going to go straight to the Gimp website, on how to do this. I did send you to YouTube on the how-to add these. But once you get your alpha to logo added, you can use a lot of different effects. We can use alien glow, which will just kind of put this background to things. And we could use something like a glowing hot to put this white background to things. I highly recommend that you just play around with all these different lettering effects. I'll show you guys the glowing hot really quick, but first I'm about to show you why it is so important on why to make this layer to image size. Now I'm pretty sure this will mess up in the way that I want it to mess up. So we've selected our text here. We've got it in a color that we think we would like as our initial color, but again it's bleeding into the thumbnail and no one would be able to see that at a first glance. So we're going to go to alpha to logo, and I'm going to try to put this we're just going to make it glow kind of the way this is glowing. So we're going to click glowing hot. It's an effect that I really like to use, and you can increase or decrease this effect by just increasing the effect size. Like, so if you want it to be broader and kind of flare further and further out, you can. I'll go to some extremes. Maybe this is not an extreme. We'll just jump up to 75 pixels, and this will make this really glow. But did you see that? You see what happened? Now my entire image is like really, really small. I lost everything. It's like, whoa, what happened, right? Because we only added that effect to the size of the layer, and it changed all of our layers, right? So now everything's messed up, right? So let's hit Control Z. We're going to go back, right? And now we're going to do the exact same thing after we've made this layer to image size. Now, on my text, because I recommend using thumbnails and things, on my text I want to point out a couple other things really quick. One of those things is I want to make sure this is centered. So you have this alignment tool up here in the top right hand corner. It looks like these little graph bars. So we're going to click the alignment tool. We're going to click the community text box that we have created, and then we can center that up and down, and we can center that left to right. Now, even though you may not think that being centered, being slightly off centered is that bad, the human eye does pick that up. So making sure that it is centered left to right is more important in our culture, because again, the way we read, than it is to center things up and down. So you actually get a lot more freedom moving up and down than you do left to right. Now, if you're in a country that writes from right to left, you're going to want to reverse all these effects and things like that. But I'm still going to click move, and I'm going to bring this down a little bit. But you'll notice that as long as I keep the layer highlighted, as I move this, I'll have my left and right guidelines here, and I could mess this up. Let's say I just threw it down here at the bottom. I can still jump back over to alignment, and maybe I didn't want to align up and down, but I wanted to align left and right. I can just click left and right. It'll center everything back up. The alignment tool is very, very handy, but I don't want to bring it down quite that far. So we're going to drag it back up just a little bit. I'm going to use my guidelines here, the little yellow lines to help me out. So, all right, now we've got it kind of where we want it. So let's go to back over here. Now we have it where we want it. I'm going to duplicate this layer, okay? And the reason I duplicate this is because I want to add effects to one copy of it, but I don't want to add effects to the original copy. The original copy will allow me to go in and change the text, type it into something else, things of that nature. But the duplicated layer, I'm going to layer to image size on that. All right, so now that I have layered to image size, you'll notice that it no longer has this text icon here. It has the PNG background, and from there we can go in and start adding effects, and we shouldn't have the problem that we did before. So now we're gonna throw that layer out there, and now we kept our entire image size. Earlier, everything shrunk down. It does give you a background. I recommend just deleting that background, or you can use that particular background as your shadow layer if you want. And now you'll notice that we have our glow effect, right? Now, there's a couple things you can do, and I recommend playing around with them. You can change the opacity of your glow effect to allow more, more things to kind of show through if you want. But what I like to do is take the original layer and just throw over the top of that, right? Is that even how you spell community? Did I spell community wrong? All right. Did I do that? Something just feels wrong about that. Anyway, that's right. I had to check it. Anyway, so now that I've put the text back on top of the glow, because we have our glowing outline, and all I did was just change the order in which things are seen, right? So this is the way they popped up. I just dragged this back to the top because I want that to be on top of everything, and now I have this cool glowing effect, right? That makes my lettering pop. This is kind of like adding the shadow layer to things and things like that. So hopefully that will help you in some ways to make things really pop out. Anyone else having lag problems? Gosh, I hope not, because everything looks fine on my end. But now we have our glow, right? So there we go. That's a nice simple way to do things. Now our green doesn't just fade into the art. Now it has some way to kind of shine and pop through. Real simple effect to add some cool effects to your um, thumbnail. And then maybe we want to do something with our subscriber Sunday up there in the top corner. Um, you're having your refresh twice. Things do look fine now, though. Hopefully everything will continue to be fine. So, and it could lag when I am rendering these effects. It does use a little bit of CPU in order to render these effects. And the more you're rendering, the more it could have a impact on your PC. But as far as like just lagging your PC down, but that's normally over within a moment or two. So, in my opinion, that really made this lettering pop a lot. So there we go. We made the lettering pop. Now we want everyone to know that this is going to be a live stream. So let's add another text layer in here, right? So I want a new layer, and we want this to be live stream. But I don't like that text. Remember I said let's use multiple fonts. So let's change fonts. The cool thing about Gimp is if you do install and add fonts to your PC, install those normally the way you would normally install fonts. Every time that Gimp starts up, it will check your fonts, and you'll be able to go in and find multiple fonts and things like that. So we could change. Let's move this so we can see it a little bit better. All right, so let's say we want it down here. We've got I've got tons of cool fonts. I kind of like collecting fonts. So we'll just keep changing this till we find something we like here. We can go to it's a little too Halloweenish. We could be all bold and blocky. Maybe we want things to just be I kind of want some type of italic, right? Let's see if we can find some italics. Maybe something. No, that's a little too metal, right? No. Man, that's still blocky, even though it's italicized. Baldur's okay? Nah. It's like the Baldur's Gate. Like if you guys ever played Baldur's Gate. So I guess we can go thin. Since we have blocky in the top one, we'll go with something a little bit thin. It's still very blocky, only and then that looks too cartoonish. Like this is going to be where your artistic ability starts to fall in. Thank you, Boros. I appreciate that. This is going to be where your artistic value comes in. I am personally not a very artistic person, and so these effects are about as far as I'm going to be able to go as far as making things look cool and neat and stuff like that. So you know what? Let's. I want something thin though. I really do. I don't want. Set it on fire, right? And all of these effects will work good when you're using your Alpha Logo cool effects, to make things pop and stuff like that. Let's see here. There's got to be something else, right? You know what? That actually looks fine to me. So I'm going to line this up. Now again, if I hit line up to the center, it's going to just throw it right in the middle of everything else. I kind of like where it's at down here. I'm just going to line it left and right, and then we'll go with that. So we have this simple little live stream, and I'm not going to add any effects to this. I am, however, going to add a little bit more shadow to my background, and we'll do that. We'll go to about 65% here, and that adds me a little bit more shadow. As far as Sub Sunday goes, I kind of want to brighten this up, make it pop a little bit more, but I'm actually okay with this. This thumbnail looks okay to me, and I would definitely ship this out, and I'm probably going to. So you guys got any questions or anything like that? I know we got quite a few of you that are here live. Some of you guys that have really been wanting to stream and make your own thumbnails and things like that are really excited about this. I know Boros said that he loves this stream, and I know Be Informed is right there. Be Informed is another YouTube streamer. You guys can click his icon there and go to his channel, check him out. He streams a lot of arena. He's went mythic multiple times, so check Be Informed out if you like that type of content, like climbing the ladder type content. Be Informed is a really good one for that. So here we go. Now we have a nice simple subscriber Sunday. We didn't get over. We didn't go overboard with how many effects we added to it, kind of like I did here. There's so many layers actually here, and then I just merged those all together. But a couple other things I want to talk about as far as templating goes. Now if we want to change things, we can simply, because of the way we've laid this out, and remember I said that I wanted to keep this into I made that copy, right? We made a copy of Community Decks, and then we actually altered the copy. So maybe we want to change the background, right? So let's say we want to open as layers. Actually, I want to keep this one. So let's talk about exporting really quick, and before we show how to use the template to quickly change this into a completely different logo or a completely different thumbnail. All right, so in Gimp, there's this export as, right? Now, when you export things, you're going to get this untitled here, and it's currently wanting to export as a PNG. PNGs, you don't have to know exactly what PNG stands for. What you need to know about a PNG is it's a see-through item. That means that this particular type of file will have invisible layers, meaning that if you have PNGs, if you have a section on the thumbnail that has nothing there, you can see through it, and that is really good. But PNG files save much larger than normal files, so I can save this as sub Sunday .png if I want, and if I wanted to change this to something else, Gimp actually allows us to select file by type. So we can go in here and find the different extensions we would like to export this as. So if we wanted to export this as a PNG, we'd go down and we'd find PNG here, and that would create a PNG image, and that creates Sub Sunday PNG. What I recommend for YouTube though is saving it as a JPG, not necessarily a JPEG, but a JPG, and this will make it much smaller. Sometimes when you're loading these, YouTube will tell you that the file for your thumbnail is too large, and it won't accept it. Other times it will accept a PNG. My recommendation is if you'll save your finished product as a JPG file, it will almost always accept it in YouTube. Now, as far as quality goes, you can increase that quality to 100%. There's advanced options, things like that, where you can save all these additional forms of data. If you want to do that, you can. You don't necessarily have to. I use the default, and it seems to work fine for me. So, stream layouts as. Okay, so your stream layout will need to be a PNG because you need it to be see-through. JPGs are not see-through, okay, and that's why this works fine for thumbnails, saving them as a as a JPEG or a JPG. But if you want to create a layout, something that's going to lay over the top of your OBS or something like that, you're going to want to save those as a PNG. That's very important to save it as a PNG. It's also very important when you're looking up files like, we'll open this as a layer really quick. Where's Ravnica? Or even here, when I'm wanting to maybe add something like a mana logo, a mana symbol, or something like that to this template. When I'm doing that, if I didn't look or search for a PNG, I'll have these corners here, right? Like you'll have these corners that are a different color, and then it's a whole nother problem. So I highly recommend when you're looking for logos, when you're looking for images that you want to use, try to look up logos as PNGs, or like say mana symbols as PNGs. No matter what you're playing with, for your particular game or whatever, look for a PNG when you're looking for your stock. So I'm just going to delete that really quick. And now we're going to jump into changing this really quick, using this as a template. So now that we have our template kind of laid out, this is our basic template. We have live stream, we can turn that on and off. We have Sub Sunday, we can turn that on and off. Maybe we don't want our logo and we want to put something up there, a different logo from time to time. We can easily turn our logo off. You could also like copy, so we could duplicate this layer, and then we could duplicate the logo layer, bring those up, merge down, and now we've actually created a single file, right, that is both. But because we copied, we have the individuals as well. So maybe we wanted to add something other than Sub Sunday under our logo, right? So again, like you could have your Sub Sunday, and we're going to do that, Sub Sunday logo. So maybe we want our Sub Sunday logo. We can have that where we can turn it on and off. That's going to be one part of our template. But for now, I'm just going to leave these up there. But let's change this. Let's show you how to use the template to do something else. So let's find, and we put Dev's face up there, right? But it's not a PNG, so we'd have to go in and cut his face out, which I might do that. I don't know if I have permission to use his face, but we might do that. He'd probably think it's funny. Anyway, let's grab this file, right? That's how I feel on Sub Sunday, right? That's all you guys, right? Yep. Skewer the critic. I'm the critic, and you guys, yep. Anyway, we'll use this. So let's go ahead and scale it to size here. Make sure that if you want to scale it just to your size, you break the link here. So we'll scale that up. We'll scale this down. Hit scale, and now we've got a new image. Let's go ahead and drag that below our shadow layer. And pretty much the only thing I keep below my shadow layer, I'm going to delete this because it's an empty layer. Pretty much the only thing I keep below my shadow layer is my stock images, right? And then I try not to alter those at all. This actually already looks decent. but maybe I want a different color text here. Now, again, earlier I told you guys, that I like to leave that one layer, um, so that I can change things. So maybe I wanted to just jump in and turn it red, right? Maybe I wanted to jump in and let's go with a darker shade of red, right? Make it really, I kind of like that brighter red, that blood red maybe. So we can do things like that. And all because, we layered things properly, that'll allow us to go back and change things back and forth. So there we go. Now we have an additional subscriber Sunday. And that second thumbnail actually only took us a few seconds to make, right? Because we had our template made and we didn't actually have to do a lot of other things because of the way we layered things out. So that's another really big tip I want to hammer in there. Use shadow effects to make your lettering pop. Use brightening effects to make dark letters pop. Use templates to allow you to quickly shift from one thumbnail into another and to keep you from having to completely rebuild everything every single time. That's going to be my three big tips there. I guess the fourth tip is remember what your audience, who your audience is, whether they're reading left to right, right to left, up and down. Try to keep things symmetrical, and that'll help a lot. Again, not everything on this thumbnail is symmetrical, but we've got a pretty good little template started here, and it didn't take us a very long time to create this. And if you were just really sitting down and be like, I'm going to build this, it wouldn't take you but about 10 or 15 minutes. Instead, here I've talked for about an hour on different ways you can do things. One other thing I want to do really quick, I actually want to save this. I'm kind of happy with this. This looks okay to me. Live stream kind of doesn't pop as well as I want to in this particular background. But then again, I could always turn live stream off, or I could go in and change live stream to be select the layer you're trying to affect. Maybe we can go in and change it to like a gray or something like that, and give it a little bit more of a dark color. So we'll save this. Now we have some extra Sub Sunday. And I'm going to save this one as Sub Sunday 2. And we'll just hit export. Export. Done. So now whoa, where'd we get this shadow effect? I've got this shadow effect off to, yeah, here. I don't want that. Delete layer. Now we'll export again. We'll replace. There we go. So there we just nice and simple. I'll show you guys a couple more of the filters that you can get from make it whiter. We're already on a pretty light background here, even though that looks dark over in the side, but it's pretty light. I think white would make it kind of blend in a little bit more, but I don't want it to blend in. I want it to kind of stick out. Either way, I'm just going to roll with that. So now that we've got this made, I'm going to delete my glow layer. So we get rid of glow layer here, and now we're going to look at some of the other effects I use. So again, we've got, let's put live stream down here because I won't be changing that much. We don't need our Sub Sunday. So we have our community decks. We're going to duplicate this layer. We're going to layer to image size. Now, once those are done, we'll go up to filters. We'll go to alpha to logo. I like to use alien glow. I like to use alien neon. Alien glow will give you this this neat bevel effect. You guys have seen it a lot. I use this for Rakdos all the time. And let's I'll just show you guys how this looks. And I'm sure you guys are familiar with it. I'm going to delete this background layer, and Alien Glow will pop up something like this. Now, you can actually take certain layers of this and you can dim them out. You can bring other layers up and things like that to make things pop a little bit more if you want to. You can use different coloring, but these are just some different effects. So I use that effect. Another effect that you can use. We're just going to back up, and I'm just going to keep changing the same one here. We'll go to filter, and now we're going to use Alien Neon. We want to encircle it with bright red, and with Alien Neon, it will do this. Thanks, Dragon Lord. I appreciate it. And again, these are just different effects. You can use these however you want to. You can merge them up and down. You can just pretty much do whatever you want. I highly recommend you guys play around with this and learn all the different effects. There's tons of filters here that you can use to change your different text options, so that you can have these really cool text effects. And that's something that a lot of people look for: how to make my text look cool, cool text and things like that. So alpha to logo is one of the best ways you can do that. You also have you can edge things, and there's just a lot of different effects. You can also put multiple effects on the same layer, which will continue to enhance or dull things out. And I hope that works for you guys. So that's it. Let's go back. Yep, I want to save it. We're going to save it just like this. I'm going to save my actual template. I'm not going to go to export as. I'm actually just going to click save as, and we're going to save as Sub Sunday, and it'll save as an XCF file. So we're just going to click save. It'll save that, and now when I want to bring up my template, I'll bring up the XCF file, and then I can change things from there. Yes, there's going to be a stream tonight. I'm going to run a couple devs decks. I've got 2 streams planned for tonight that are actually gameplay. Okay, I wanted to get this out of the way because I know a lot of guys have been asking about it. I've actually been picking it at someone I like to call a friend, Duskblader, Dusk Till Dawn Gaming. I've been picking at him because he finally started putting thumbnails on his YouTube videos and things like that, and I wanted to give him some advice instead of just going, hey, you need to do this, and I wanted to show him how to do it. We've also got Be Informed that seem to be pretty happy about this. Boros Boons seem to like it, and I'm sure that others will enjoy this content as well. So just some effects, just some advice, some ways that I do things, some things I've picked up over the past year and a half of streaming, and just I hope it helps out. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope it will make things easier for you all to become streamers, or to add thumbnails to your streams and things like that. So yeah, there you go. Nice and simple, easy way to do things. Only took about an hour of your time for a nice little workshop on Gimp. So use the links in the description box. Go ahead and get your Gimp set up. No, I'm not sponsored by Gimp or anything else. It's a free to use program. You can donate to Gimp if you want to do that and help them out. So it's just a nice, easy way to do things. So hope you guys all enjoyed this content. I do plan to have more tips and tricks for streamers. We'll be talking about a layout in the next one of these I do. I'll talk about how I build my layouts and things like that, and we'll do a lot more layering, and we'll do a simple layout. We'll see if we can do that in the next one of these streamers tips and tricks videos. So hope you guys enjoyed. My name's Eric. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time here on Cyborg MTG.